For many people, just having the action figure they need is enough. But for focus collectors, one is never enough. Not only do they want the loose figure in every variation, they want it on card, with each card it was released on, from Star Wars to Power of the Force if possible. For card collectors, or in this case C-3PO collectors, there seems to be one figure that's kind of a mystery. That was C-3PO released with removable limbs on the 45 back Empire Strikes Back card. What exactly is the 45 back card? This is an Empire Strikes Back card showing 48 action figures that were available at the time, plus a special offer for the action figure stand. On the back of the card is a photo of C-3PO with removable limbs, so you would think he had to be released, right? All the action figures on the back of the card can be found on a 45 back. Well, maybe not 3PO. Was he ever released on the 45 back card? Well, being that no collector had one in their collection, collectors wrote it off as never being produced, and for some reason was pushed back to the 47 back card. 3PO and card collectors moved on, trying to complete their collection. That was until a C-3PO 45 back card with no bubble and no figure attached showed up on the collector scene. This figure was from Peru. Its card was mostly the same as the US release, other than a small sticker in the left corner of the Peru Toy Company's name and logo. But there was only one. Could this have been some card from the factory? Did it mean a figure did get released on a 45 back card? Well, not long after, another 45 back card 3PO with no bubble or figure was found, and it was also from Peru. So by now collectors knew of two 45 back card 3POs, but again, no figure attached. But it was pretty clear that they had been released, at least in a small number, in Peru. But there were still no 45 back card figure found with 3PO attached. That was until April 2018. That's when a few collectors spotted what appeared to be a C-3PO on a 45 back card on eBay. The title of the eBay auction was Return Jedi Star Wars 3PO Removable Limbs 1982 Kenner Unpunched Vintage. It had no mention that it was on the Empire Strikes Back card or that it was the unknown 45 back card. Many collectors at this time had already wrote the figure off as never being released, yet here it was, and by the end of the auction it was now in the hands of a 3PO collector after his winning bid of $255. Every collector that thought they had a complete set of every figure on every card was now missing one in their collection. But was this figure ever really released? The 45 back 3PO on the eBay auction showed the figure with a black X over the bubble, and it was unpunched. This could mean that it was a produced sample that never got released. The X on the bubble could have been a mark by Kenner not to release the figure. Now I don't know of any Star Wars sample cards that were marked with an X. However, there are test sample photos of Kenner's Indiana Jones figures with a black mark on the bubble to show that the figure's card had issues. On the Indiana Jones figure, the mark was done to show there wasn't enough room between the figure and the top of the bubble, causing the top of the figure to rub against the bubble. A Cairo swordsman was also marked, but it wasn't clear what these marks was to indicate. Since the release of the 45 back card in 1982, that was it, until a few weeks later, when a mint 3PO on a 45 back card with no marks appeared on eBay. And this time it didn't go unnoticed, and it would sell for a little over $2,000. Like the other carded 3PO, this one was also sold by a seller in Hong Kong. Collectors have wrote this figure off as never being released, yet here were two that appeared on eBay. So it was starting to seem that a very few figures did get released. But could both of these that hit eBay have been sample cards, as both of them came from different sellers that were both located in Hong Kong? Back at the time of these figures being released, it was standard practice for the Hong Kong factory to send samples back to Kenner so Kenner could approve the card before being put into mass production. If Kenner saw the 45 back 3PO and found something wrong with it, they could have marked an X on it, sent it back to Hong Kong, and the Hong Kong factory could have stopped production, with a few of them still on hand. But what was wrong with the 3PO card? Why would it have a big black X on it? Well, looking at that 45 back card with the X on it, and the other released 3POs in the line, the only thing I could see that was different between the 45 back one and the ones that did get released is the black parts carrying bag that came with 3PO. The release figures had that bag inside of a sealed plastic bag. But the two 45 back cards that hit eBay from Hong Kong has it loose in the bubble. Could it be that Kenner got the 45 back sample figure and saw that the carrying backpack was not in its own bag? Maybe Kenner's safety team felt it needed to be in its own bag, or maybe it was US law that said it had to be in a separate bag. So they marked it with an X and sent it back to the Hong Kong factory to be fixed. There at the factory in Hong Kong, they had the figure with the X on it and maybe a few others on hand that somehow got leaked out. And because the figures had to be redone and packed with the backpack inside the bag, it caused a delay with C-3PO now only being shipped out on the 47 back card. But that raises another question. How did the figure get to Peru? Well, Kenner could have been sitting on a few test samples and might not have wanted to waste any money and sent them to the factory in Peru, who may have more flexible laws about what was needed and not needed to be bagged. But I want to hear from you. What do you think? Did a handful of these from Hong Kong find its way to collectors? Or did a few of them get shipped out to stores? And this is the only figure on the 45 back card that seems to not have been released, or if it was, very, very limited. Let me know in the comments what you think. And as always, thumb up if you like my content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.